Some children speak their first words at 10 months old. Others wait until they're 2, maybe 3. But what happens when an 8-year-old boy chooses silence for 14 months straight? What happens when that silence becomes a fortress that no amount of money, love, or desperation can break through? This is a story of Eli Harrington and the woman who did the impossible. Right now, in a Manhattan penthouse worth more than most people will see in a lifetime, a small hand presses against floor-to-ceiling glass. The hand belongs to Eli, and it's trembling, not from cold, but from something much deeper, something that's been eating him alive for over a year. Across the street, children his age chase each other through a cold playground. Their mouths are open, laughing, shouting, being gloriously beautifully loud. But Eli can't hear them through the glass. Or maybe he's forgotten what laughter sounds like altogether. He pulls his hand away, leaving a small print on the window. It fades quickly, like everything else in his world that tries to leave a mark. Downstairs, his father, Richard Harrington, is having the conversation that has become his nightmare. The same conversation he's had 7 times in 14 months. "She quit this morning," Richard tells his assistant, his voice cracking in ways that would shock his business partners. "That's 7 nannies, Janet. 7 highly trained, highly recommended professionals who couldn't last more than 8 weeks with my son." Richard Harrington built a real estate empire from nothing. He's negotiated billion-dollar deals, survived market crashes, and turned empty lots into luxury developments. But he cannot solve the puzzle of his own child. What did she say when she left? Richard asks, though he already knows the answer. "Same as the others, sir. She said working with Eli was difficult, that his silence was disturbing, that she felt like she was failing him every day." Richard hangs up and walks to his home office, where framed family photos line the mahogany desk. But these aren't normal family photos anymore. In every single frame, one face has been carefully torn out, ripped away with the precision of someone who couldn't bear to look at what they'd lost. The missing face belongs to Lydia Harrington, Eli's mother, Richard's wife, the woman who died in a fire 14 months ago, taking her son's voice with her into the flames. But here's what no one talks about in the grief counseling sessions or the family therapy appointments that Eli refuses to attend. Those photos weren't torn by accident. They weren't torn by Richard in a moment of grief-stricken madness. They were torn by Eli himself. Every single morning for the past 14 months, this 8-year-old boy has woken up, walked to his father's office, and destroyed another piece of his mother's memory. And every single morning, Richard has replaced the photos, hoping today will be different, hoping today his son will speak. Instead, Eli leaves sticky notes. They're scattered throughout the penthouse like breadcrumbs in a twisted fairy tale. Notes that say things like, "Gone forever," and "My fault," and "Why didn't you save her?" But the note that haunts Richard the most, the one that appeared on Eli's bedroom door just this morning, says simply, "Everyone leaves." Because that's what's been happening. The parade of nannies, the stream of child psychologists, the specialists who charged thousands of dollars to tell Richard what he already knew. His son was broken, and no one knew how to fix him. Dr. Patricia Chin lasted 6 weeks. She had a PhD in child trauma and 20 years of experience. She quit after Eli left her a drawing of a burning house with stick figures inside. Maria Santos lasted 2 months. She spoke 4 languages and had raised 12 children of her own. She quit after finding Eli try and climb out of his 3rd-floor bedroom window. Sarah Mitchell, the British woman with impeccable references, lasted exactly 9 days. She never said why she left. She just packed her bags and disappeared in the middle of the night. Each departure broke something in Richard's heart that he didn't know could break any further. But more importantly, each departure confirmed what Eli already believed. Everyone leaves. Everyone gives up. Everyone decides he's too much trouble, too damaged, 2 laws to save. Tonight, Richard sits in his study at 3 a.m., staring at his son's latest sticky note, while rain pelts the windows. The note is different this time, more desperate. It says, "Am I why Mommy is gone?" Richard's hands shake as he reaches for his phone. There's one more call to make. One more attempt to find someone, anyone, who might be able to reach his son before the silence swallows him completely. The agency that answers specializes in impossible cases. They handle children who've been written off by everyone else. Children the system has given up on. "I need help," Richard whispers into the phone. "My son. He hasn't spoken since his mother died. 7 nannies have quit. I'm running out of options, and I'm running out of time." The woman on the other end asks questions Richard has answered 100 times before. But then she asks something new. "Mr. Harrington, has anyone ever asked your son what he loved about his mother? Not what he misses, not what he's lost, but what he loved." Richard realizes he doesn't have an answer. "I have someone who might be able to help," the woman says, "but she's not like the others. She doesn't have the same credentials, the same background. She works differently." "Different how?" "She listens with more than her ears, Mr. Harrington. And sometimes that's exactly what a silent child needs. Because tomorrow morning, Monica Brooks will walk through the Harrington family's front door, and nothing will ever be the same again. But here's what breaks my heart about Eli's story, and why I need you to listen carefully. Right now, as you're watching this, there are thousands of children just like him. Children whose voices have been stolen by trauma, by loss, by adults who failed to protect them when it mattered most. Children who write desperate notes that no one reads, who press their hands against windows hoping someone will see their pain. Most of these children will never get their Monica Brooks. They'll never find someone willing to fight for their voice. They'll grow up believing they don't matter, that their pain is too much trouble, that they're better off staying silent. If you've ever been that child, or if you know that child, or if you believe every child deserves someone who refuses to give up on them, then you cannot just scroll past this story. You cannot watch Eli's pain and do nothing. Subscribe to Soul Thread Stories right now, because every subscription tells me that you believe children's voices matter. Every like tells the algorithm that stories like Eli's deserve to be heard. Every share could reach someone who needs to know they're not alone in their silence. But more than that, subscribe because walking away from Eli's story is exactly what 7 nannies did. It's what every adult in his life did except one. Don't be another person who sees a child suffering and decides it's someone else's problem. This story will destroy you and rebuild you. It will make you angry at the systems that failed children and hopeful about the humans who saved them. But only if you stay. Only if you choose to listen when the world chooses to look away. Hit that subscribe button now, because Eli's breakthrough is coming, and you need to be here when it happens. You need to witness what's possible when one person refuses to let a child's voice disappear forever. Don't be another person who leaves. The Honda Civic coughs up the Harrington driveway like it's apologizing for existing. Monica Brooks grips the steering wheel tighter as her 10-year-old car struggles against the pristine silence of extreme wealth. The engine knocks with each uphill push, a working-class heartbeat in a world that runs on whispers and wire transfers. She parks between a Mercedes and a BMW, her faded blue Honda looking like a mistake someone forgot to fix. Through her rear-view mirror, she catches the security guards exchanging looks. She knows that look. She's seen it her whole life. One guard approaches, clipboard in hand, professional smile plastered on like expensive wallpaper. Name and purpose of visit, ma'am? Monica Brooks. I'm the new nanny. His eyes flick to her license plate. Michigan, Detroit zip code. The smile tightens just enough to let her know she doesn't fit their usual demographic. I'll need to see some identification and run a quick background check, he says, though they both know this was already done twice. Standard procedure. Monica hands over her driver's license without complaint. She's learned that fighting these small humiliations only makes them bigger. But she watches his face as he processes her address, her age, the fact that she doesn't look like the 7 women who came before her. You can head up to the main entrance, he finally says, returning her ID. Mr. Lowell is expecting you. The front door opens before she can knock. Mr. Lowell stands there like a human brick wall. Gray suit, gray hair, gray expression. He's the kind of man who's never had to introduce himself because his authority fills the room before he does. Miss Brooks. Not a greeting, just an acknowledgement. Please come in. The foyer is larger than Monica's entire apartment back in Detroit. Marble floors reflect crystal chandeliers, and oil paintings of stern-faced men judge her from golden frames. Her sneakers squeak against the marble, each step announcing that she doesn't belong here. Before we begin, Mr. Lowell says, leading her to a sitting room that looks like a museum, we need to discuss the unique nature of this position. He slides a document across the coffee table. The non-disclosure agreement is thick as a phone book, dense with legal language that basically says, see nothing, hear nothing, say nothing. The child doesn't speak, Mr. Lowell continues, his voice as warm as the marble floors. Previous employees found this disturbing. Your NDA covers everything you see, hear, or suspect while in this household. Monica reads through the contract, page after page of silence requirements, confidentiality clauses, penalties for sharing information. What exactly are they so afraid she'll discover? The family values discretion above all else, Mr. Lowell adds. Master Eli requires specialized care, and we cannot afford any complications. Monica signs each page carefully, her pen the only sound in the room. When she finishes, Mr. Lowell collects the papers like he's gathering evidence. Your quarters are on the 2nd floor, East Wing. Dinner is served at 6. Master Eli typically takes his meals in his room. He pauses, studying her face for something she's not giving him. The previous nannies found it challenging to work with a child who shows no response to traditional methods. Traditional methods, Monica repeats, tasting the words. What exactly does that mean? Speech therapy, behavioral modification, structure activities, the usual approaches for selective mutism. Monica nods, then asks the question that changes the temperature in the room. What did Eli love before the silence? Mr. Lowell stops moving. For the first time since she arrived, he looks genuinely confused. I'm sorry. Before his mother died. Before he stopped talking. What made him happy? What did he love to do? The silence stretches between them like a chasm. Mr. Lowell's professional mask slips just enough to reveal something startling. He has no idea. That's not really relevant to your duties, Miss Brooks. Your job is to supervise Master Eli, ensure his safety, and report any concerned behaviors. But if I don't know what brought him joy, how can I help him find again? Previous employees focus on encouraging speech and maintaining routine. Mr. Lowell says, his voice sharpening. I suggest you follow their example. Monica doesn't point out that all the previous employees quit. She doesn't mention that their methods obviously failed. Instead, she simply nods and lets him show her to her room. The guest quarters are beautiful and cold, decorated in shades of beige that whisper, temporary. Monica sets her single suitcase on the bed and looks around. No personal touches, no warmth, nothing that suggests this room has ever been a home to anyone. That night, after a dinner eaten alone while the family remained invisible, Monica finds a sticky note slipped under her door. The handwriting is small, careful, heartbreaking in its precision. They all leave eventually. Monica stares at those 4 words, written by an 8-year-old who's learned that adults are just disappointments waiting to happen. She thinks about the 7 women who came before her, how they tried to fix him instead of understand him, how they gave up when he didn't respond the way they expected. She finds a pen and writes a response, sliding it back under the door. I'm not them. Have you ever been in a place where you didn't belong, where people judge you before you even spoke? Monica is about to face something most of us can't imagine, proving herself worthy of a child's trust while fighting a system designed to keep her out. But what she discovers about this family will shock you more than her Detroit zip code shocked them. If you believe everyone deserves a chance at help, especially when that help could save a child's life, then hit that like button right now. Because Monica's first night in this house is about to reveal secrets that will make you question everything you think you know about grief, guilt, and the price of keeping deadly family secrets buried. And trust me, after what happens tomorrow, you'll understand why 7 nannies really quit. Share this video if you've ever been underestimated because of where you come from. Comment below if you think Monica has what it takes to break through Eli's fortress of silence. Don't scroll away. This child's life depends on what Monica does next. Monica wakes up on her first morning knowing she has one chance to get this right. 7 women before her failed using traditional methods. She's going to try something different, something that might save Eli or might get her fired before lunch. She starts in the sunroom, a sterile white space that overlooks the garden. Everything in this house whispers, don't touch, don't change, don't disturb the perfect order. Monica ignores every whisper. By noon, the sunroom looks like a rainbow exploded. Yellow blankets cover the cold leather furniture. Colored blocks, red, blue, green, purple, sit arranged in careful piles on a low table. Her grandmother's guitar, battered and beloved, leans against the wall like an old friend waiting to sing. The transformation shocks the household staff. Maria, the housekeeper, stops in the doorway with fresh towels, her eyes wide. Miss Brooks, are you sure Mr. Harrington approved these changes? Monica continues arranging the blocks by color. He hired me to help his son. This is how I help. Word spreads quickly through the house. By afternoon, Monica can feel eyes watching her from doorways, staff members whispering about the new woman who's turning their ordered world upside down. She doesn't care. She's not here for their approval. At 3 o'clock, Monica sits in the center of her colorful chaos and picks up the guitar. Her fingers find the strings, muscle memory from childhood, lessons her grandmother insisted on. She plays softly, an old spiritual that her grandmother hummed while braiding her hair. The music drifts through the house like sunlight through windows that haven't been opened in months. From the hallway, barely visible behind the doorframe, Eli watches. Monica doesn't acknowledge him, doesn't call him in, doesn't ask questions, doesn't make demands. She just plays, letting the music fill the space between them. This is day 1 of what Monica calls a listening game. Simple rules. She plays music. If Eli likes what he hears, he can tap a color block. Any block, any color. If he doesn't like it, he can walk away. No pressure, no expectations, no words required. Eli stays in the hallway for exactly 7 minutes, then disappears. Monica smiles. 7 minutes is 7 minutes longer than silence. Day 2 brings the same routine. Monica plays. Eli watches from the doorway. This time he stays for 12 minutes. His small face peers around the corner, curiosity warring with caution. Monica switches from spirituals to classical, then to soft jazz. Eli's head tilts slightly when she plays Pachelbel's canon. She makes a mental note and keeps playing. Day 3 changes everything. Eli steps into the room. Not far, just 3 steps past the threshold, close enough to run if he needs to. But he's inside her colorful sanctuary, breathing the same air, sharing the same space. Monica's heart pounds, but her fingers stay steady on the guitar strings. She plays the canon again, watching from the corner of her eye as Eli's small hand hovers near the colored blocks. He doesn't touch them. Not yet, but his fingers twitch toward the blue block when the familiar melody begins. Upstairs, Richard Harrington watches through security cameras, his coffee growing cold as he stares at the monitors. His son is in a room with another adult, participating, engaging. It's been 3 days, he tells himself. Don't get your hopes up. But hope is a stubborn thing. It grows in the cracks of cynicism, feeds on moments like this. Day 4. Eli comes closer to blocks. Day 5. He sits on the floor just out of arm's reach. Day 6. Monica introduces new songs, watches reactions, learning his preferences. Day 7 changes both their lives forever. Monica plays bridge over troubled water, her voice joining the guitar in harmony that fills the sunroom with something it's never held before: peace. Eli sits cross-legged on a yellow blanket, closer than he's ever been to another human being since his mother died. His small hand reaches toward the colored blocks, fingers trembling with 14 months of suppressed communication. The tap on the blue block is barely audible, a whisper of fingertip against plastic. But to Monica, it sounds like thunder. She doesn't stop playing, doesn't gasp or celebrate or make a big deal of the moment that just shattered every expert opinion about selective mutism. She just nods once, acknowledging his choice, and continues the song. Upstairs, Richard drops his coffee cup. The security camera footage shows it all. His son, who hasn't responded to anyone in over a year, making a deliberate choice to communicate. The sound of shattering ceramic brings Margot running to Richard's office. She arrives just in time to see the replay on the security monitor. What is that woman doing to him? Margot demands, watching Monica's unconventional therapy session with growing alarm. This isn't treatment, Richard. It's games. It's working, Richard says quietly, rewinding the footage to watch Eli's tap again. One tap doesn't mean anything. We need speech therapy, behavioral modification, proper medical intervention, not some woman playing guitar and letting him play with blocks like a toddler. But Richard can't look away from the screen. His son's face, which has been blank for 14 months, shows the slightest hint of something that might be contentment. The expert said he might never speak again, Richard whispers. Because they don't enable his silence with games, Margot snaps. She's setting him back, not helping him forward. As if Eli can hear the argument 3 floors above, he looks directly at the security camera. His small hand hovers over the blocks again. This time, the tap on the blue block is deliberate, defiant, a declaration that says, I choose this. I choose her. I choose to try. Most people would have given up after day 1 of silence. But Monica knew something the experts didn't, that healing happens when we stop demanding and start listening. If you've ever been misunderstood or dismissed, you'll understand why Eli's second tap will bring tears to your eyes. This moment right here is why you need to hit that subscribe button. Because every child who's been written off as difficult or hopeless deserves someone who sees their potential instead of their problems. Like this video if you believe in second chances. Share it if you know a child who needs their own Monica Brooks. Don't skip ahead. You need to feel every moment of this breakthrough, because what happens next will prove that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply giving someone permission to be heard. Comment below. Do you think Monica's methods will save Eli, or is Margot right about needing traditional therapy? The storm arrives on Thursday night, like an unwelcome memory. Thunder rolls across Manhattan with the weight of 14 months of buried secrets, and lightning illuminates the penthouse windows in flashes that turn everything stark and terrifying. Monica jolts awake at 2:17 a.m. to the sound of screaming. Not human screaming. That would almost be easier. This is a sound of pure terror trapped inside a small throat, the kind of sound that happens when nightmares become too real to escape. She runs through the hallway in her bare feet, following the cries to their source. The sounds lead her past Richard's bedroom door, past Margot's guest room, down the corridor to the main living area, where Lydia's grand piano sits like a monument to everything this family has lost. The screaming stops abruptly, replaced by something worse, the silence of a child trying not to breathe. Monica drops to her knees and peers under the piano. They're curled into a ball so tight he looks like he's trying to disappear completely. Is Eli. His small body shakes with each flash of lightning, and his hands clutch something against his chest like a shield that isn't working. Eli, Monica whispers, her voice barely audible over the thunder. It's me. You're safe. He doesn't respond, but his shaking intensifies. Whatever he's holding is crumpled from his grip, and Monica can see the edges of paper, the bright colors of crayons. I'm not going to touch you, she says, settling onto the floor beside the piano. I'm just going to sit here until the storm passes. Lightning cracks across the sky, illuminating the living room in harsh white light. For just a moment, Monica sees everything clearly. The expensive furniture, the perfect artwork, the family photos with their missing faces. And underneath it all, a small boy reliving the worst night of his life. She starts humming. Nothing specific, just a low, steady sound that her grandmother used to make when Monica was afraid. The melody flows between the thunder crashes, filling the spaces where fear lives. Slowly, carefully, Eli uncurls just enough to look at her. His face is streaked with tears, and his eyes hold a terror that no 8-year-old should ever carry. Bad dreams. Monica asks softly. Eli nods once, the first direct response he's given her outside of the colored blocks. Want to show me what's scaring you? His grip on the crumpled paper loosens slightly. With trembling fingers, he pushes the drawing toward her across the marble floor. Monica's breath catches in her throat. The drawing is crude but devastatingly clear. A house engulfed in orange and red flames. In one of the upstairs windows, a small stick figure with Eli's distinctive curly hair, arms pressed against the glass. In another window, a larger figure with long hair, unmistakably his mother. But it's the third figure that makes Monica's blood run cold. Standing outside the burning house, safe on the sidewalk, is another stick figure, tall, wearing what looks like a business suit. The figure isn't running toward the fire, isn't calling for help, isn't doing anything except watching. Eli, Monica whispers, her voice catching. Who is this person outside the house? Eli's small finger points to the figure, then to a framed photo on the piano of Richard in his expensive suit. The pieces crash together in Monica's mind like the thunder overhead. This isn't just a drawing of the fire that killed Eli's mother. This is a witness account. This is a truth from the only person who saw everything. Richard wasn't just unable to save his wife. He was there. He was outside, safe, while his family burned. And he chose to stay outside. Monica's hands shake as she studies the drawing more carefully. The details are heartbreaking in their precision. Smoke pouring from windows, flames reaching toward the sky, and that lone figure on the sidewalk, close enough to help but far enough away to survive. How long were you at the window, honey? Monica asks, her voice barely holding together. Eli holds up fingers. First 3, then 2 more, then 3 again. 8 fingers total. 8 minutes. This child watched his father stand outside their burning house for 8 full minutes while he and his mother were trapped inside. Another lightning flash illuminates the room, and Monica sees that Eli has more paper scattered on the piano. More drawings, all showing the same scene from slightly different angles. Some show firefighters arriving. Some show neighbors gathering. All show the same man in the same spot, watching his family burn. The thunder fades, but the storm inside Monica's chest is just beginning. She understands now why Eli stopped talking. He's been carrying the weight of his father's cowardice for 14 months. He's been protecting the man who failed to protect him. Eli, she says carefully, have you shown these drawings to anyone else? He shakes his head violently. Not your dad? Not Margot? Not any of the doctors? Another shake. Then, so quietly she almost misses it over the dying storm, Eli whispers his first word to her. Secret. Monica's heart breaks completely. This baby has been keeping his father's terrible secret, protecting the man who let his mother die rather than risk his own life to save her. When she finally helps Eli back to his room and tucks him into bed, Monica finds a sticky note on his pillow that destroys what's left of her composure. Why didn't Daddy come upstairs? She stares at those 6 words until they blur through her tears. This is why 7 nannies quit. Not because Eli was difficult or disturbed, but because getting close to him meant discovering the truth that this family has buried under grief counseling and expensive therapy. Richard Harrington isn't just a grieving widower. He's a coward who saved himself and let his wife die. And his 8-year-old son has been protecting that secret at the cost of his own voice. Every child deserves a hero in their worst moment. Eli watched his father choose safety while his mother burned. If this doesn't make you angry enough to demand justice, I don't know what will. But Monica is about to make a choice that will either save this child or destroy them both. Hit that subscribe button if you believe children shouldn't have to protect adults who failed them. Share this video if you think fathers have a responsibility to save their families, not just themselves. Comment below. What would you do if you discovered this devastating truth about the family you work for? You cannot look away now. Not when a child's silence is actually protecting the person who should have saved him. Don't scroll past Eli's pain. He needs you to witness what really happened that night. That night, Monica sits in her beige guest room staring at Eli's drawings, and suddenly she's 7 years old again, choking on smoke and screaming for help that isn't coming. Detroit, 1995. The Riverside Apartments, a brick building that housed working families who couldn't afford anywhere safer. Monica's mother worked double shifts at the hospital. Her father drove trucks cross-country. They were building a life, one paycheck at a time. The fire started in the laundry room at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. By 3:15, the entire first floor was engulfed in flames. By 3:20, Monica was pressed against her third-floor bedroom window, watching her father stand on the sidewalk below. He was close enough that she could see his face in the orange glow of the flames. Close enough to hear him when he screamed her name. But he never moved from that spot on the concrete. Never tried to come inside, never attempted to climb the fire escape that could have reached her window. Just like Richard Harrington, her father was paralyzed by his own fear. Monica survived by doing what no 7-year-old should have to do. She saved herself, crawling through smoke-filled hallways, following the exit signs that glowed like angels in the darkness. She found the fire escape and climbed down while the building burned around her. Her mother didn't make it out. Neither did Mrs. Patterson from 2B or the Martinez family from the first floor. 9 people died that night because the building safety systems failed and the fire department arrived too late. But Monica's father could have saved some of them. He could have tried. Instead, he stood on the sidewalk and watched his family burn, just like Richard Harrington did 14 months ago. The only difference is Monica lived to remember her father's choice. Eli has to live with his father's choice every single day, protecting the man who failed to protect him. That's why Monica has spent her adult life working with abandoned children, foster kids who were failed by their parents, abuse survivors who learn too young that the people who should protect you are sometimes the ones who hurt you most, children who lost their voices because speaking the truth was too dangerous. She knows the particular pain of being let down by someone who should have died trying to save you. And now she knows that pain lives in Eli too. Friday morning brings unwelcome visitors to Monica's door. Two men in expensive suits introduce themselves as representatives of the Harrington family's legal team. Miss Brooks, we need to discuss some concerns about your employment here. The lead attorney, a sharp-faced man named Garrett, slides a document across the small table in her room. We've noticed some irregularities in your approach to Master Eli's care. Monica reads the paper carefully. It's a formal warning about unauthorized changes to treatment protocols and deviation from established therapeutic frameworks. Translation: stop doing whatever is working and go back to methods that failed. The family values stability and consistency. Garrett continues. Your creative approach has been noted, but we need to ensure you're following approved guidelines. Approved by whom? Monica asks. Because Eli is responding better than he has in over a year. Master Eli's progress, if any, should be documented through proper medical channels, not through games and music sessions. The second attorney opens a briefcase and removes photographs, security camera footage, printed on glossy paper, images of Monica in the sunroom with Eli, of their music sessions, of the moment he tapped the colored block. We're monitoring all interactions for the child's safety, Garrett explains. Your contract includes specific clauses about appropriate boundaries and professional conduct. Monica realizes they're not just watching her, they're building a case against her, evidence that they can use to fire her if she becomes inconvenient. After the lawyers leave, Mr. Lowell appears in her doorway like a gray-suited ghost. Miss Brooks, I hope you understand the delicate nature of your position here. I understand that I'm helping a traumatized child heal. You're helping him according to methods that concern the family. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your approach before you overstep boundaries that cannot be uncrossed. The threat in his voice is polite, but unmistakable. Stay in line or face consequences. That afternoon, Monica finds cameras in places they weren't before. One pointed at the sunroom door, another at the hallway leading to Eli's room. The family is watching her every move, documenting every interaction, preparing for the moment they might need to eliminate her. Because she knows too much. She knows that Richard Harrington isn't the grieving hero the media painted him as after the fire. She knows that he stood outside while his wife died and his son screamed for help. She knows that this family's perfect image is built on a foundation of cowardice and covered up with expensive therapy and NDAs. The question isn't whether they'll fire her. The question is how much damage they'll do to her reputation and career when they do. That evening, Monica sits in the sunroom playing guitar while her world falls apart around her. She could pack her bags tonight, take the paycheck, and disappear back to Detroit. Pretend she never saw Eli's drawings, never heard his whispered secret, never learned that some fathers choose themselves over their children. She could protect herself the way Richard protected himself that night. As if he knows she's considering leaving, Eli appears in the doorway holding a folded piece of paper. He walks closer than he ever has before, close enough that she can see the hope and terror fighting in his dark eyes. He places a note in her lap and runs. Monica unfolds the paper with shaking hands. The handwriting is careful, desperate, heartbreaking. You won't leave like Daddy did, will you? 7 words that destroy every rational argument for walking away. 7 words that make her realize she's not just fighting for Eli's voice anymore. She's fighting for his life. Because if she leaves, if she becomes another adult who abandons him when things get difficult, he might never trust anyone again. He might never speak again. He might never believe he deserves to be saved. Monica survived what Eli is living through right now. She could walk away, protect herself, keep quiet like everyone expects. But that would mean abandoning Eli the same way she was abandoned. If you believe survivors have a responsibility to protect other survivors, then you understand why Monica's next choice will either save them both or destroy everything. Share this if you believe truth. is worth the risk. Like this if you think children deserve adults who choose courage over comfort. Comment below. Would you risk everything to save a child who's been protecting his father's deadly secret? Don't scroll away. Monica's decision will determine whether justice wins or money silences another victim forever. Sunday evening arrives with another storm, and the weather app on Monica's phone shows lightning warnings that make her stomach clench. She knows what storms do to Eli. She's prepared. The power flickers at 8:47 p.m., just as Monica finishes setting up battery-powered lanterns throughout the main living area. The household staff retreats to the lower level, following emergency protocols established after previous storm-triggered episodes. But Monica doesn't follow protocols. She sits on the marble floor near Lydia's piano, her guitar in her lap, waiting. The first rumble of thunder sends Eli running from his room. His bare feet slap against the cold floors as he races toward the piano, his safe space, his hiding place from memories that thunder awakens. Monica watches him curl into a familiar position under the grand piano, his small body shaking not from cold, but from 14 months of carried pain. She doesn't approach him, doesn't try to coax him out. Instead, she positions herself nearby and begins to play. "Lean on Me" flows from the guitar strings like a prayer set to music. Monica's voice joins the melody, soft and steady, creating sound that fights back against the storm's chaos. The lightning flashes, illuminating the living room in stark white bursts, but Monica keeps playing. Her voice becomes a constant thing, the anchor in the storm, the promise that someone is staying this time. Eli's breathing slowly changes from panic gasps to something steadier. Through the piano legs, Monica can see him listening, his small face turned toward her voice like a flower following sunlight. Thunder crashes overhead, rattling windows and making the chandeliers sway. But Monica's voice never wavers. She sings about leaning on each other, about friendship that endures, about never walking alone. Slowly, incredibly, Eli begins to crawl toward her, not out from under the piano, but closer within his shelter, close enough that Monica can see his dark eyes reflecting the lantern light, close enough that her voice reaches him without the barrier of distance. Monica modulates her voice lower, gentler, turning the familiar song into a lullaby of safety. She can feel the moment building, the breakthrough that's been waiting 14 months to happen. Eli's lips part slightly. His small chest rises with the deepest breath he's taken in over a year. The word comes out broken, desperate, beautiful. Again. Monica's fingers almost stumble on the guitar strings. 14 months of silence shattered by one simple request. But she doesn't stop playing. She doesn't gasp or celebrate or make the moment bigger than it needs to be. She simply nods and starts the song again. "Lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on." Upstairs in his study, Richard Harrington drops his coffee cup. The security monitors show everything. His son speaking for the first time since the tragedy. Monica's calm response. The continuation of music that seems to be healing what medication and therapy couldn't touch. The ceramic mug explodes against a marble floor, the crash echoing through the penthouse like breaking chains. But the sound doesn't startle Eli this time. He's found something stronger than fear. He crawls completely out from under the piano. Monica continues playing, her heart racing but her voice steady. Eli sits on the marble floor facing her, closer than he's been to another human being since his mother died. The storm rages outside, but inside, something else is happening. Healing, connection, the return of a voice that everyone thought was lost forever. Richard appears in the doorway, still in his business clothes, his face white with shock and hope and something that might be terror. Father and son lock eyes for the first time in over a year, really look at each other, not past each other or around each other. Eli's small voice cuts through the storm and the music and the weight of 14 months of silence. "Why didn't you come upstairs?" The question hangs in the air like lightning waiting to strike. Simple words that carry the weight of truth too heavy for a child to bear alone. Richard's face crumbles. All his power, all his money, all his carefully constructed grief narrative falls away in the face of his son's direct question. Eli. Richard's voice breaks completely. But Eli isn't finished. The floodgates of his voice have opened, and words pour out like water from a broken dam. I saw you outside. I called for you. Mommy called for you. You just stood there. Why didn't you help us? Each word hits Richard like a physical blow. His son's voice, which he's prayed to hear for over a year, is demanding accountability for the choice that destroyed their family. Monica keeps playing softly, providing the musical foundation that gives Eli courage to speak his truth. Her presence reminds him that not all adults abandon children when things get difficult. I was scared, Richard whispers, his admission barely audible over the storm. I was scared too, Eli replies, his 8-year-old voice steady with newfound strength. But I was upstairs, in the fire, with Mommy, and you stayed outside where it was safe. The truth fills the room like oxygen after suffocation. No more secrets. No more protecting the adult at the expense of the child. No more silence covering up cowardice. Richard collapses into a chair, his successful businessman facade completely destroyed by his son's courage. I'm sorry, he sobs. I'm so sorry, Eli. I failed you. I failed your mother. I was supposed to protect you, and I failed. Eli looks at his father, really looks at him, for the first time since the fire. Why didn't you try? It's the question that's been trapped in his throat for 14 months. The question that stole his voice and built walls around his heart. The question that no amount of money or therapy could answer until now. 14 months of silence broken by one word. But it's the most important word this child will ever speak. Eli found his voice not to say hello, but to demand justice. If you think children deserve answers from the adults who failed them, then you need to see what happens next. Hit that subscribe button if you believe children have the right to confront the adults who abandoned them. Like this video if you think Eli's courage deserves to be witnessed. Share this story if you know someone who needs to find their own voice after trauma. This moment will either restore your faith in the possibility of healing or break your heart with the weight of a child's burden finally shared. Don't scroll away now. You need to see how a father responds when his cowardice is finally exposed by the son he failed to save. Comment below. Do you think Richard can ever earn back his son's trust? Comment below. Do you think Richard can ever earn back his son's trust? 3 weeks after Eli breaks his silence, Detective Sarah Martinez sits in the Harrington penthouse, taking statements that will change everything. Her notebook fills with details that paint a devastating picture. A father who chose self-preservation over family protection, a household that conspired to silence a traumatized child, and a system that nearly buried the truth under expensive therapy and legal threats. Mr. Harrington, Detective Martinez says, her voice professionally neutral. Failure to render aid to family members in immediate danger is a felony in New York. The child endangerment charges stem from forcing your son to carry the psychological burden of protecting your reputation. Richard sits across from her, no longer the powerful businessman, but a broken man facing the consequences of his choices. His expensive lawyers flank him like bookends, but they can't undo what Eli's voice has already revealed. My client was in shock, the lead attorney argues. Trauma responses vary. He called 911 immediately. After moving his vehicle to safety, Detective Martinez interrupts, reading from her notes. After calling his business associates. After ensuring his own welfare, while his wife and child were trapped upstairs. The investigation moves quickly once Eli starts talking. Security footage from neighboring buildings shows Richard's timeline exactly as his son described. Phone calls made while his family burned, deliberate positioning away from danger, no attempt to enter the building or assist rescue efforts. But it's not just the physical abandonment that brings charges. It's what happened after. Child psychologist Dr. Amanda Foster testifies before the grand jury about emotional abuse through enforced silence. Eli understood that speaking the truth would harm his father. An 8-year-old child chose mutism to protect an adult's reputation. That's psychological manipulation, whether intentional or not. The media explosion is immediate and merciless. Miracle Nanny exposes father's deadly secret screams across every headline. 8-year-old D's silence protected coward who let mother die dominates social media feeds. Monica becomes the center of a firestorm. Half the world calls her a hero, the woman who gave a voiceless child the courage to speak truth to power. The other half brands her a troublemaker who destroyed a grieving family for her 15 minutes of fame. Monica Brooks didn't just save Eli Harrington. One news anchor declares, she exposed a system that prioritizes adult comfort over children's welfare. But the criticism is equally harsh. This woman violated her NDA and destroyed a family's privacy during their darkest hour, argues a legal analyst on another network. She had no right to weaponize a child's trauma. Monica watches the coverage from her hotel room, having been terminated the day after Detective Martinez's first visit. The Harringtons' legal team moved swiftly to distance the family from their former employee, but the damage was done. Eli had found his voice, and no amount of legal maneuvering could make him silent again. The real transformation happens in the weeks that follow. Eli, free from the burden of protecting his father's secret, begins speaking with a clarity that astonishes everyone who knew him during his silent months. I remember everything about that night, he tells Dr. Foster during his first real therapy session. I remember calling for Daddy from my window. I remember Mommy screaming his name. I remember how long we waited for him to come help us. His words carry no malice, just truth delivered with a devastating honesty that only children possess. He testifies before the grand jury with Monica sitting beside him for support, his small voice echoing through the courthouse with statements that will define his family's future. My daddy was scared, Eli tells the prosecutor. But I was scared too when I was in the fire. Mommy was scared too when she died in the fire. Being scared doesn't mean you don't try to help. The grand jury returns an indictment within hours. Richard Harrington, once featured on magazine covers as New York's most successful developer, stands before cameras in handcuffs, his fall from grace complete and public. The man who built his empire on controlling narratives can't control this one. But something unexpected happens in the aftermath of the indictment. With the secrets finally exposed, the family begins healing for the first time since the fire. Real therapy replaces the expensive sessions designed to maintain silence. Dr. Foster works with all of them. Richard confronting his cowardice, Margot examining her complicity, Eli processing trauma that's no longer buried under family loyalty. I was so angry at Daddy, Eli tells Dr. Foster during a joint session. But I thought if I talked about it, everyone would hate him. I thought it was my job to protect him. It was never your job to protect me, Richard says, his voice thick with tears. I should have been protecting you. I failed at the most important thing a father can do. The penthouse, once filled with expensive silence, now echoes with honest conversation. Eli asks questions about the fire, about his mother, about why adults sometimes make choices that hurt children. Richard answers them all, no matter how painful. Margot confronts her own role in the cover-up. I convinced myself we were helping Eli by not talking about Richard's choices, she admits to Dr. Foster. But we were really protecting ourselves from uncomfortable truth. The healing isn't pretty or quick. Richard faces 18 months in minimum security prison. The family business suffers massive losses as contracts are canceled and partnerships dissolve. The penthouse will likely be sold to pay legal fees and civil settlement to Lydia's family. But Eli is talking. Full sentences, complex thoughts, hopes for his future. His voice, once trapped by the need to protect an adult's reputation, now flows like a river that's finally found its way to the sea. Monica testifies at Richard's sentencing hearing, not as his defender but as Eli's advocate. This child lost his mother to fire and his voice to shame, she tells the judge. Justice isn't just about punishment. It's about ensuring that children never again have to protect adults who fail them. Eli went from silence to testimony in just months, but only because one person refused to let lies win. Monica risked everything for a child who couldn't even speak. What are you willing to risk for justice? If Eli's courage inspires you, make sure others hear his story. Children like him are counting on adults like you. Hit that subscribe button if you believe children's voices matter more than adults' reputations. Share this video if you think families should be built on truth, not secrets. Comment below, how many children are staying silent right now to protect adults who failed them? Don't scroll away. Eli's healing is just beginning, and his story could save other children trapped in similar silence. 6 months later, the same window that framed Eli's silent longing now frames something entirely different. A laughing 8-year-old boy pressed against a glass, waving to friends on the sidewalk below. "Marcus, wait up." Eli calls down to a neighborhood kid riding his bike in lazy circles. "I'll be down in 5 minutes." His voice carries through the penthouse like music, filling spaces that used to echo with expensive emptiness. The boy who once couldn't speak now chatters constantly about school, about friends, about the piano lessons that have replaced his silent hours. Monica sits at Lydia's grand piano, her fingers dancing across keys that haven't been touched since the fire. The instrument, once a shrine to grief, has become something alive again, something that creates joy instead of preserving sorrow. "Your turn," Monica says, sliding over on the bench to make room for Eli. He settles beside her, his small hands finding the keys with growing confidence. The melody he plays is simple but pure. Chopsticks, performed with the enthusiasm of a child who's discovered that making music is better than making silence. "Can you teach me the song you played that first night?" Eli asks. "Lean on me? I want to play it for Daddy when he gets here." Monica nods, arranging his fingers on the correct keys. Richard joins him every Sunday now, these awkward but necessary sessions where a father tries to rebuild trust with the son he failed to protect. It's not easy. There are moments when Eli still flinches, when memories of abandonment surface despite months of therapy. There are times when Richard struggles with shame so deep it threatens to pull him back into the silence that nearly destroyed them both. But they're trying, and trying, Monica has learned, is sometimes the most revolutionary act of all. The doorbell rings, and Richard enters carrying takeout bags from Eli's favorite restaurant. He looks different now, smaller somehow, humbled by consequences, but also freed from the weight of maintaining lies. "How's the lesson going?" Richard asks, setting the food on the kitchen counter. "Eli's ready to perform," Monica announces, standing up from the piano bench. Eli's face lights up with excitement and nerves. "I learned the whole song, Daddy. The one that helped me find my voice." Richard sits in the chair where he once collapsed under the weight of his son's questions. Now he listens as Eli plays "Lean on Me" with careful concentration, each note a bridge between who they were and who they're becoming. When the song ends, Richard applauds with tears in his eyes. "That was beautiful, son." Monica says music helps people connect. Eli explains, even when words are hard. "She's right." Richard agrees, looking at Monica with gratitude that's taken months to earn. She's been right about a lot of things. Monica's approach to trauma recovery has drawn attention from child psychologists across the country. Dr. Amanda Foster has documented their methods in a paper titled Permission-Based Healing. the power of agency in childhood trauma recovery. Traditional therapy assumes children want to speak, but can't. Dr. Foster explains in interviews about the case. Monica Brooks understood that sometimes children can speak, but shouldn't have to, not until they feel safe, not until they have power, not until someone proves they're worth protecting. The phone call started 3 weeks after news of Eli's breakthrough spread beyond New York. Desperate parents from across the country, searching for help with their own silent children. "My daughter hasn't spoken since the accident," one mother from Ohio calls to say. "The doctors say there's nothing physically wrong, but she just won't talk. We saw your story on the news." "My nephew witnessed domestic violence," explains a caller from California. "He's been mute for 8 months. His parents are divorcing, and everyone's so focused on the legal battle that nobody's thinking about what he saw." Each call represents another child trapped in protective silence, another family struggling to understand why traditional methods aren't working. Monica has started consulting with families remotely, teaching parents and caregivers how to create environments where children can choose their level of engagement. No pressure, no demands, no forced breakthroughs, just consistent presence and unconditional safety. The waiting is the hardest part for adults. Monica explains to a support group of parents with silent children. "We want to fix things quickly. We want immediate results. But healing happens on the child's timeline, not ours." The group meets monthly in the Harrington penthouse, which has become an unofficial center for families dealing with childhood trauma. Richard insisted on opening their home this way, turning their painful experience into something that might help others. "Eli and I learned that secrets make everyone sick," Richard tells new families during these gatherings. "Truth is harder than silence, but it's the only thing that actually heals." Watching Richard speak to other struggling parents, Monica sees a man he could have been all along, someone willing to be vulnerable for his child's sake, someone who chooses courage over comfort. The transformation isn't just visible in their Sunday music sessions or monthly support groups. It's in the everyday moments that make up a family's real life. Eli argues with his father now about bedtimes and homework, and whether vegetables count as dinner if they're hidden in pizza. Normal childhood rebellion that speaks of safety and trust. He asks questions about his mother without fear of making adults cry. He talks about the fire as something that happened to him, not something he needs to protect others from. Most importantly, he's learned that his voice matters, not just when it tells people what they want to hear, but especially when it tells them what they need to know. "Monica," Eli says one afternoon while they're arranging music sheets, "do you think other kids are staying quiet to protect grown-ups who messed up?" The question catches Monica off guard with its insight. "Why do you ask?" "Because I remember thinking it was my job to keep Daddy's secret. But kids shouldn't have to do that, right? We should be able to tell the truth even if it makes adults sad." "Especially then," Monica agrees. "Sometimes the truth is the only thing that can save everyone." As the sun sets through the same windows that once framed a silent boy, Monica listens to Eli practice piano while his father helps with homework at the kitchen table. The penthouse buzzes with ordinary family noise, questions about math problems, negotiations about screen time, planning for next weekend's activities. It's not perfect. Healing never is. Richard still faces trial next month. The family still struggles with guilt and forgiveness and the complex work of rebuilding trust. But Eli is laughing. He's arguing. He's making music and friends and plans for the future. Most importantly, he's using his voice not just to speak, but to advocate for other children who haven't found theirs yet. Eli's laughter fills the space where silence once ruled. But this only happened because Monica refused to accept that a child's voice didn't matter. How many other children are trapped in silence right now, waiting for someone to care enough to listen? Subscribe if you believe every child deserves a voice. Share if you believe every child deserves someone who will fight for their truth. Comment if you've been that silent child. Your story matters too. Don't scroll past this moment. Somewhere right now, a child is protecting an adult's secret at the cost of their own healing. Your engagement with this story could be what inspires the next person to listen when everyone else is demanding speech. Because sometimes the greatest gift we can give a child is permission to speak their truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us.